Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of No Filter with Naomi. Today's guest, I personally don't feel that I would have had a career without this amazing lady in my life that I'm blessed to call one of my best friends, my chosen family, has been like a sister to me for 34 years. And today is my 34-year anniversary. Please welcome the one, the only, the most beautiful woman in the world, to me, and to many others I know, Christy Turlington Burns.
Hi! Happy anniversary!
Thank you. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Interesting times, but I'm doing okay. Healthy.
Healthy. And the kids, Grace, Ben, Eddie?
The kids are good. They're getting into their own routine, trying to find their new normal, like the rest of us. But I'm really proud of them. They've been great. Really positive, getting their thing together, staying organized and focused. I'm proud.
Oh, so now, Christy, I don't know, where do we start? Because we go back. First of all, I want to say this. Do you recognize what I'm wearing? Let me show you. Do you recognize this? So I thought I'd wear this as a celebration to you because this dress is from, I think it's 1990 or 91. And I remember when I used to take from Aliyah, one for me, one for you. I don't know, you have this in the dress or you have what do you have?
I have it in a dress and I have it in like a green and kind of like a terracotta maybe color. So
did you still keep some of your Azadine Aliyah?
I definitely have it. I haven't worn it probably since 1990. I keep it in a storage place, and I've been meaning to go back and kind of go through my archives and make sure that everything's, being looked after. But It's been a little while, so it's on my to-do list. But that looks so good.
I took a few things out last year, and this was one of them. And it's amazing. Azadine was truly unique. This fabric should be like floppy, and it's not. It's still tight and resilient as ever. That's beautiful. Why he was who he was, and that's
Yeah, and so generous too, because he was always like giving all the clothes to us, and we could pick, like you said, one for you, one for me. I was the lucky beneficiary of many, many gifts that went your way. Thank you.
Something just flashed back in my mind. Okay, when you said well, so I remember once. We lived, everyone, Christy was my first room. I don't know, where do we start? Okay, let's just start from the beginning.
Okay.
Let's start from the beginning. How did you get into the fashion business? How old were you and when were you discovered?
I was, I'm pretty sure I was 14, but probably just 14. I grew up in California, but then my family moved to Miami, Florida for a few years with my dad's job for Pan Am. And my older sister Kelly and I used to ride horses, and we would ride after school every day. And a photographer was there taking photographs of some actresses, like young actresses. And he was watching us ride, and he approached our mother afterwards and said, do you think I could take pictures of your daughters? And my mom, strangely, was really open to the idea, as was my sister Kelly, who you know well. Kelly was 2 years older than me and is still 2 years older than me. And she was, I think, much more aware of like fashion and what modeling was. But we took pictures and sent them to a local agency. And then that agent connected me with New York and Paris agents. And things kind of, I don't know, they didn't go so fast, I would say, the first year. But, within a year or two, I was in New York quite a lot. And we met when I was 16 and you were 15.
I'm trying to remember. What was this? I want to see if you remember. What was the shoot we met on?
It was Jeff Banks's warehouse, and we were doing some catalog for it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was multiple days. I feel like it was a week in my memory, but it was probably like 3 days or 4 days. And you and I.
Remember the photographer?
Robert Erdman.
Yes, Robert Erdman. And do you remember who his assistant was?
David Sims.
Yes. Can you believe?
And do you remember
It's
who
like
did the hair and makeup?
Guido.
Yes.
Guido was the hairdresser, but who was the makeup?
Oh, I think of her face all the time. She did our makeup also for the George Michael video.
Was it
I went to Carol?
Carol Brown?
Yes, Carol Brown.
Carol Brown, who was married to Sam Brown. Yeah,
Yes.
I love Carol Brown. I did a lot with her in the very beginning. So when I first saw you was before that shoot, the year
Oh.
before, because I saw you that summer. And it was the British Vogue cover of you with the white halter, the hair was up with the white Patrick Demarchelle. One of the most divine covers ever. And I remember I couldn't afford British Vogue. I couldn't afford fashion magazines. I was still in school. But I saw, because they had posters around London at the time, they were bigger in the newsagents, they had them bigger outside. And I was just like, wow, she's really beautiful. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would ever know you. I would ever be able to call you my sister. I'd be your roommate. Your everything, just the whole simplicity of the cover. You remember that cover, right?
Yeah, I do. It was a Donna Karan. Donna Karan had just started her business with her own name. And it was a big deal because she was an American New York designer and she was on the cover of British Vogue. And yeah, I remember everything about that shoot. Patrick, I remember Mary Greenwell and Sam. I think it was Sam, or maybe it was Julian. But I remember it so vividly because everything in the beginning when it was new was so memorable, you know?
It's just one of those, it's iconic forever. And so tell me then, after that, we met on the Warehouse. That was the brand, Warehouse. English brand, folks. And then, where were you living then? You'd already moved from Oakland to New York?
Yeah, I was living in New York. Well, I wasn't living in New York full time. I was still going to school back and forth in California. I'd moved back to California after Miami. And I went to Paris when I was 15 for a summer. And then on my way back from Paris, I stopped in New York and I thought, this is where I want to live. So by the time I met you, I wasn't out of high school yet, but I was coming to New York very frequently. And I moved there the day that I turned 18, basically. I had my apartment set up and I was a New Yorker from that moment on.
So wait, let me ask you this. So did you not ever live with Eileen Ford?
I did.
Oh, please tell us about that. I need to know because I want to hear your experience.
Yeah, we didn't live there at the same time.
Well, no, there was one time I got there, but you were away traveling. Okay. You traveled a lot then.
Yeah,
you were flying constant. And you were not there when I was there at the same time, but your things were there, but you physically were not there. So please tell us what that was like.
I loved living in that house. It was a townhouse, like a brownstone on the Upper East Side, I think 78th Street, right?
78th, yeah, in the 70s, yeah.
And I mean, it was like 5 floors. And in the time since I had started, I got to learn a little bit about the industry. And Eileen and Jerry Ford were kind of legends because they were a couple and the business was a family business. And in anything that I saw them,
Katie Ford, what was Katie, Lacey, and what was Billy? And Billy, right?
Yeah. Billy and Katie were the ones who were in the business, I guess, but there were some other kids too. And then, so everything I knew about Eileen and Jerry Ford, they always did these interviews in their townhouse. So I saw what the house looked like, and I saw that there were teenage models that lived there. And I felt lucky. I felt lucky to be chosen to stay in the house. I don't think that everybody got that opportunity. Right. And they had a cook, and they had a butler, and
Go to your right. We want to see your beautiful face. Yes.
Oh, sorry. Okay. They had a cook and a butler. So you would have a dinner around the table in a dining room with everybody else who was living there at the time. And I don't know, you were living with other girlfriends that from all over the world, and everybody was going off doing their appointments in the day and coming
That
back.
had to have been fun. Because
It was
when I
fun.
got there, I think Lana Ogilvy was there. Remember
Oh,
her?
yes. Yeah, I do.
But then came this, because Eileen came to meet me when I was 15 in London. And then I was like, okay, I didn't know who she was, or Katie, but I knew that this big agent came to meet me in London. So then I got to the house, and you must have gone on a trip, but I was hearing all the antics of what was downstairs in the cellar. And if you
There was
wanted
the
to,
wine room.
yeah, if
There
you
was
wanted a sip of
tea.
alcohol, you had to go downstairs to the cellar. But it was like, I felt also very blessed that they embraced me as well. And then I remember Katie wanted me to stay with her too. So I think that was comforting for my mum, knowing, because she just had my brother, that, to let me go as a teenager, that I at least was staying with professional women and a family that were really, traditional about the whole business. So.
Yeah, my parents, I think, felt the same.
So
But
then,
we still were teenagers, so you get away with stuff. It's our job.
Of course, yes, of course. And then, I mean, I remember you saying to me, when you come to New York, let's be roommates. And I'm like, roommate? I think I understand that word. I understood it because I used to read those books about Sweet Valley High and all those things, and college in America. And the most I'd seen of America was on television. And so, it was very exciting. And you kept your word, Christy. You kept your word on so many things. I feel so, I always say in every interview I ever do, and I will always continuously say, I have so much to thank you for. I'm grateful to you for everything, because you spoke about me to Stephen Meisel. You introduced me to Gianni Versace. You just kept on doing and giving and being so generous to me, and putting yourself on the front line and saying to designers, if you don't use her, you're not getting us. If you don't take her as a black model, you don't get us. I mean, I don't believe today. Can you tell us all about these little vignettes I just said?
Yeah, well, you made a mark. The moment that I met you, I knew that you were really special and so much fun. And I remember that first shoot, we just danced and laughed the whole time. And so, of course, I thought we have to live together, because that's what I want to do.
And we never had any food in the fridge.
Never. And we were rarely there at the same time as you were. I mean, you mentioned how much I was traveling, but you were always traveling so much also. So we were like two ships in the night. And when we were ever there at the same time, it was so much fun. And it was so great to have a companion and someone to understand, like, a long day, a difficult day. Yeah, it was great. And I think that's why we're as close as we are still, because of those early days and how much time we spent when we were just getting to learn the world.
It was an unconditional love, an unconditional understanding, and an unconditional support. And I remember too, during the fashion weeks, we'd start off because New York was first. No, New York was last. New York was last, no?
No, yeah. Oh wait, New York's first now. Yeah.
Yes, so it used to be London first, then Paris. No, London, Milan, Paris, New York. New York was last. Yeah. And we were okay in London and Milan. Then we'd get to Paris, and for some reason, one of us, as we would call it, our terminology, someone had a crack up. And a crack up meant everybody that it was just too many shows, because we were doing like 18 to 19 or 21 shows in Milan. We were doing the shows to the full, in every country to their capacity of however many we could do. So by the time we got to Paris, we were exhausted.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Explain to us those times, Christy.
I mean, we used to call it like being on tour, like a rock band, right? We would be, living in a hotel from city to city. And sometimes we would arrive together. I just remember being in Ireland the one time, and we arrived together with Kate.
Is that when we kidnapped Kate?
Yes, you were working with her in Spain, and you kidnapped her and brought her to
I
Ireland.
met her in Spain. We were there for bridal shows. Oh my God. And I kidnapped her from this club called Archie's. I was with Adam at the time. And I said, Adam, we're kidnapping her. And then I said, you'll meet the other partner in crime in Paris.
We went to a wedding. We took her to a wedding. We dressed her up in a Union Jack. She was in
What
a
do you mean
Union
we
Jack.
dressed her up? She dressed us up.
Yeah, that's true.
She told us that this is what her words were, kind of, that we had to dress down and get with it, that we were too polished, that we needed to be a bit more grunge. So hence came, let's put the black around our eyes. Let me put my hair up to make it messy with makeup brushes, because that's all I had. And let's rough ourselves up. Let's not go to, polished, whatever we thought it was. Then we went Kate's way. But do you remember the journalist who was interviewing Adam? And he said, can you tell us, Kate Moss, we're talking about everybody. He said, could you tell us about these new waves that have come into your business? And I said to him, I've got a wave in the kitchen. Would you like to meet Kate Moss? Do you remember? Adam was in Rolling Stone, and then he came in the kitchen. His name was BJ or BF Fallon?
BP Fallon. Yeah.
And then BP came and saw Kate, and his mouth was in shock. Kate Moss. I mean, Kate Moss.
That's the best. I've got
another icon of icons. But I mean...
So good. No, we had so much fun at times when it wasn't really hard work and when it wasn't exhausting and we weren't, going crazy just trying to keep up with the pace. I think we managed to have real moments of genuine fun. And I think Paris, in addition to having the meltdowns that, because, you just get pushed too far. I remember being backstage at a Chanel show, and at the time, remember, we would always wear like 10 outfits per fashion show, not one look. And so you'd have to change so quickly in the back, like a pit stop. And I remember being zipped up on my side. And I remember, my skin in the zipper and being so upset and so like in pain, but in a rush. And I remember just grabbing the hand of my dresser and I just like smacked her hand because there's nothing I could do. I was just like, you just hurt me so bad. My skin is still in the zipper, but I have to go. Bleeding.
The show must go on. I mean, tell me, when you did Catwalk, I love Catwalk. It's so great to watch Catwalk now. Tell us about Catwalk, how it came out, how it came to be. It's a really good point of reference for our business.
I haven't. I've seen like clips of it on. They come up in my feed sometimes, and I haven't seen the whole thing.
So who was the director of Catwalk?
So it was. Gosh, why am I blanking on his name?
Robert Leacock, no?
Robert Leacock, right? He was the cinematographer and director, I guess, and it was produced by this guy who had come to me through Isabella Rossellini, and she recommended that he follow me through, a season of shows.
Yeah.
And I was kind of getting ready to leave the show part of the business, and so I thought, this would be interesting to do.
What year was this? Can I say this was 93, 94?
I think we did it in 93, but it didn't come out until 94.
Until 94, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the filming was in 93.
Yeah, and I remember...
I remember because I was engaged.
Yeah, and I remember it was a lot harder than it seemed, like the idea of having a crew tag along. I think we'd all had a news crew tag along with us at one time or another, but the idea of having a documentary crew with us like 24/7 for 3 weeks was a lot. I remember being mic'd all the time and sitting down at lunch at some of the shows, and people by the end were starting to like just get up and walk away because nobody wanted their conversation recorded anymore. But it did capture some moments. They came on every fitting. They came to some of the parties in between or after shows.
I remember them being very
They were nice guys.
I didn't remember them I didn't feel that they were imposed in any way themselves.
Yeah.
And I felt that They were fine. I didn't mind. The best is when you have cameras around you, when you don't feel their presence. And with them, I didn't really feel their presence. I felt that they could be trusted, and they proved to be. We were right. They showed us in the best lights, and they showed what our life is really about.
Well, Robert had worked on the Truth or Dare film with Madonna. And so he had that kind of nice style. You knew that the film would look nice and be pretty. And he just did have a nice way of just sort of disappearing in the background. And by the end, I feel like he was in on every secret, every joke, they fully knew what we were talking about all the time. So no code.
Oh yeah, we couldn't fool them. Well, I don't think we really tried, did we? We didn't really try. I mean, I would have loved to have just seen it from their standpoint, to be honest with you. It must have been really fun. So, tell me, your mother's Elizabeth, who I know, your family was like my American family, and your lovely dad, the late Dwayne, who I loved, who is just your father reminded me, which I think I told him, he reminded me of Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. He said that a lot.
Handsome, beautiful.
He actually went to the same high school as Clint Eastwood in Oakland. So he knew him as a kid, but yeah, he did have a similar kind of vibe to him. But yeah, you stayed in my house with you and Kate both in my.
We spent Thanksgivings with you.
Yes.
I was like, what's Thanksgiving? Okay, we're gonna have turkey twice in the year. November and December. I know. That's when I really got to understand what Thanksgiving was, which I love and I do celebrate. So tell me, your parents met. How did your parents meet? Because I remember you and Kate, kind of similar stories in a way.
Yeah, both of our parents worked for Pan Am. Well, her dad worked for Pan Am, and my dad and my mom both worked for Pan Am Airlines, which doesn't exist anymore. And my mom had been a flight attendant in the 60s, and she was sort of super glamorous, kind of a version of what we did for a living, but from her era. She had roommates and she traveled all over the world, and she had, a really fun life. And she met my dad on a flight, and he wasn't the pilot at the time. He was in some sort of sales job, but he had been a recreational pilot. So he kind of inspired her. She kind of inspired him to pursue that as a professional occupation. And so then he became a pilot, and my mom stopped working and, had my sister and then me and my younger sister. And we grew up in Northern California outside of Oakland. And yeah, I'm one of 3 girls. We're all really close. You've been there sharing a room with my sisters as well on trips before.
I remember you taking me to Aspen, trying to ski. That was a disaster.
I thought about that recently. I think it was my birthday, and you came, and you didn't know how to ski, but you of course showed up in like the perfect outfits. Like you looked head to toe like you'd come from San Moritz or something, but you'd never actually been on skis before. But
I'd been on them when I was a child, but my mom tried to push me on the mountain and kill me, that's what I used to say. Which is not true. My mom, she gave me a little push, and I told everybody she tried to kill me. But it was like, but no, I really do respect skiing, but it's just I find it's really difficult.
I think that you're better off learning as a child, because if you do it as an adult, it's not easy and you can really hurt yourself. So maybe best
you guys used to go to Ajax, and I would be stuck on buttermilk by myself.
With your lesson. I know, but looking amazing.
So tell me this. I know you stopped smoking, and that was due to having emphysema. Is it right?
No, actually, that wasn't true.
Not true. Please clarify and tell us what is.
No, so I quit smoking about, I don't know, the first time probably at 20 years old, but I quit for good when I was 25, and I'm 51 now. So it's been more than half my life that I've not been smoking.
That's fantastic.
But at the time, my dad had passed away from lung cancer, and I did a lot of public health announcements, sort of, health campaigns around smoking. And at the time I took a test because there wasn't a lot you could know about lung cancer in advance of getting lung cancer. And so as a person who was an advocate for tobacco and prevention and cessation, I took this like lung scan, and then I told a reporter about it because they had said in the scan that I had like very early signs of emphysema, which honestly, you could never really know, I don't think, but it scared me. I had already quit smoking, so I was feeling okay, but it got in the media and it's been on Wikipedia ever since. But I do not have emphysema.
We have to get that changed.
Thankfully. Yeah, I mean, if I did,
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I really miss your dad, and he was a father figure to me when I came to America. I missed Wayne.
Yeah, he used to have fun coming out with us. We would take my parents out to the clubs in New York.
Always, everywhere they came. Just so much fun, so much light. And so then you went on, which so proud of you, to go to NYU and go back to school.
Yes, I went back when I was 25, around the time that I quit smoking. And I went to school full time for 4 years, and I graduated when I was just about to be 30, or just when I turned 30. And it was like the best thing I've ever done. I had the best time being a student in New York. I bought a townhouse and refurbished it, and I stopped traveling as much as I had been for all the years before.
I'm so proud of you. So proud.
Thank you. It was great.
Okay, you want to do a job with Christy? Be like, these are her hours. She's in school, but everyone respected it.
Yeah, people were really good.
And you know, it was so proud of you, really.
Thank you.
I'll forever be proud of you. And then tell us about, then you got into yoga. Tell us about that part.
Well, I got into yoga actually in my teens, kind of around the time when we were living together. I think my first boyfriend, who was a horrible guy, but he practiced yoga. And so I got into yoga through him, and I've kept up with it ever since.
I feel like it became more public when you did your range with Puma, and then there's that incredible cover of American Vogue. Who shot that? Was that Stephen Klein?
The yoga one, Stephen Klein. Yes, exactly.
Incredible, where you're just like, oh my God, where your back and your legs are, that's another iconic cover.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us about this.
So the yoga thing was a big part of my life. I wrote a book about yoga. I started a business that was around like yoga inspired apparel that I did with Puma. And I think when I was in school, I was able to have a more steady practice because I wasn't moving around as much. And, you know, it's just such a huge part of my life at this point. Still, I practiced a couple hours ago. It's my real love. And yeah, I mean, between school and yoga and, you know, once I graduated, starting businesses like the clothing line and also a skincare line at the time that no longer.
I remember.
Yes, and Dari.
Yes. Yeah.
So I did a lot of like
Indian inspired, right?
Exactly. Ayurveda. Yeah.
And you know, it's funny because 2012, I tried really hard to understand yoga. And I went to a couple classes with Russell Simmons, but they were playing like rock music and whatever. And I felt like, all right, but I'm not understanding this mind, body, soul of peace. I wanted to find this peace thing that I keep hearing about, or that I, in my mind, thought existed. That's what it should be. So in 2012, I needed a break from everything. I put my computer and my phones, I left. I took one phone and I left to Kerala, to India, in Trivandrum. And I went for a month. And I met this incredible teacher called Vishnu. And I started to learn, I said, I want to learn yoga. Can you teach me? I want to understand the piece of it. And I learned with this lovely guy who now lives in Qatar and does a school and trains Her Highness. And,
oh, wow.
And it's, you know, Vishnu, it really gave me the understanding. And just being in Kerala in India, where it's born, where yoga came from, it just made me feel a real connection of it. Because I didn't get it before. I found it really difficult, Christy, I must say. But I respect the beauty and the discipline of it, you know?
I think the teachers are important. I think when you have a great teacher, they inspire you and they awaken things in yourself that you didn't know or realize before. So I think you just found the right person to open that up in yourself.
Yeah, it's true. Definitely the marriage of the person. Christy, can I have, I know we're not allowed to tell secrets, but is there one thing you can? We're pixelating, guys. We're pixelating. Do we sign
Am
in
I
and
seeing
out
you? I can
again?
see you are.
Okay. Can you see me?
You're in like the lower corner now. A
Yeah,
little
but
bit
can you see?
pixelated.
Can you hear me or can you see me?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So I just want to ask you. As long as they can see you is all that matters. Is there a little secret you can give us from the George Michael video?
Ah, I heard about Cindy's secret.
You heard about
My
Cindy's secret, yeah?
secret, I guess my secret from that is, um, the scene where there's a scene where and I've probably spoken about this before, but I think you can't really tell when you see it. There's a scene where there's like, you can only see my eyes or my mouth when I'm lip syncing some of the lyrics.
I remember, yeah.
And because I just got I think we had a cassette and like a Sony Walkman when we landed at Heathrow. I think I flew from California. And so I had very little time to memorize the song. And that was my first.
Cindy too mentions the Walkman. It's such a symbol, isn't it?
It really was. I know when my kids are walking around with their earbuds and I'm like, you have no idea what we lived with. But so I didn't really have the words down. And so in that first scene, they had a cutout of a poster board of some kind. And so whenever I didn't know the words, I would just sort of dip down so you could only see my eyes. And so, I did that quite a lot for that first scene. By the end, of course, I couldn't think of any other words except the lyrics in that song. Linda stayed with me for a while, like a month after that, in my New York apartment in the police building. And she used to wake me up in the morning by turning on Freedom because I would be like,
I didn't know that. Oh my goodness. So you lived in the police building. I lived in the American Thread building, which is very close to each other. Mm-hmm. I remember calling you and saying, Christy, come quick. You'd be like, what's happened? I'm like, Adam's going to propose. Come quick. Did you answer him? I'm like, no, I haven't answered. I'm waiting for you. Thank God we lived close to each other.
Oh my God.
Thank goodness. I mean, I remember the 1993, the Met Ball. Mm-hmm. They had all the mannequins. I don't know if people know this, were all you. They were all your face. Do you remember? Did you ever get to keep one?
No, I didn't get to keep one, and I don't know what I would do with it. Well, I guess I don't know.
Nice to have one just for you, for your retrospective one day.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably find one still. Maybe they were made by.
I'm sure Anna might have one somewhere that she would give.
They were made by Poochie, who does a lot of the mannequins that are out there in the world, and they did them like they actually had somebody sculpted my face to make the mannequin. So it wasn't just a likeness. It was really like it was very, very to the, proportions and the features. Yeah. And then they made versions because it was a big exhibit for the Fashion Institute, or not the Fashion Institute, the Costume Institute. And it was 100 years in vogue. So it was different body types and design from a long period of time. And so they made these variations of it, like slightly smaller. They made male versions of it. They made like slightly plumper. Like there were all these versions. And then Orbe did the hair for the exhibit, which was really cool. He did all this wrap.
I've got a few more questions. I can't just let family just run out of here like this. So when you first heard the word supermodel, what did you think of it? What did you think of it when you heard supermodel and when you heard Trinity? What did you think?
I didn't really relate to the word when I first heard it. I think my first recollection of it was a modeling competition that the Fords had on television. And it was called Supermodel of the World. And so that's the first time I remember hearing it or seeing it. And it didn't feel like the same kind of model that I was. And then in the early 90s, when it started to get used a lot more around the group of us, I guess, I don't know, I felt like more people would make fun of it in a way. Like I felt like it also misrepresented us. It didn't feel like us. And I think we wanted to reject it because we didn't create the name ourselves. Mm-hmm. Where I think Trinity, we didn't create that ourselves either, but at least I feel like it reflects the three of us that are in that grouping. You know what I mean?
So where did
Whereas
Trinity come from? I can't remember.
I think Michael Gross, who was a fashion writer, he wrote
Okay,
a
I
couple of
remember
stories
Michael
about the
Gross.
business. And I feel, I mean, maybe somebody else said it. Maybe it was a saying that we didn't know about until it was in print. But I feel like he was the first person who started using it about
Did
you.
we
And
like Michael Gross? I can't remember if we liked him or we didn't. I think we didn't like him.
I think we didn't like him at first because
I
we
think
thought
we liked him in the beginning, though. I thought it was the other way around. I thought we liked him in the beginning when he was an editor somewhere, and then when he went and wrote a book, which was
No,
we don't.
I feel it's the other way around. Like, I think in the beginning, he was kind of known as being a little bit snarky about the business, and so we didn't trust him. And then eventually, he was around, like, you know, he was around when we were hanging out, and he was actually, you know, wouldn't write about it, and he would be a little bit more, like, he kind of got it, that he wasn't welcome if he was going to tattletale.
So when did the book come? In the beginning or I can't remember when the book came.
I
But
feel
that
like,
book was not welcomed.
yeah, the ugly business of beautiful women, that one.
I thought it
That
was
the
just
one?
called Model, wasn't it?
Oh, I think he did two. I
That's
think.
very possible that he did too. You could be
But there
very
was one
right.
called The Ugly, or maybe it was Model, The Ugly Business of Beautiful Women, something like that. And I don't know if I ever read it, to be honest, but we all
I
probably.
don't read those type of books. No, not going to be sitting in my library. Never. Because the only truth can come from us, ourselves.
True.
So tell me something. Who would you say now could be kind of, who would you say are us now today? Is there a group of girls that are us now today?
I mean, it seems so when I think
But a
when I
group
think
in
of
the sense of friendship as well.
yeah,
Not just
yeah,
the
I
work,
think
like
so.
they're a group of friends. Who would they be today?
Yeah. I mean, I would say like Carly Kloss is super close with her whole group of people, right? Like,
Who are? Other models, I mean?
yeah, yeah. I
Like
mean, I think
who?
there's,
Who are they?
why am I blanking? Jordan is like one of her, that's like one of her closest, and I think they're super
They
close.
share a birthday too.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I mean, I think they're friendly with Gigi and some of those girls too. I think they're all about the same age, maybe. Maybe
I
Jordan's a
actually
little
have
bit.
to say, I'm loving Alton and your nephew,
Oh, I
James. Christy
know.
has another Turlington in the family, folks. That's a model. That is going to be iconic too. He's
I think he's
beautiful.
watching right now too.
He's where?
I think he's watching us right now.
Are you
He,
watching us, James Turlington?
James
He's
Turlington, and yeah, James.
beautiful.
He just sent me a of his first Womo Vogue cover on a text.
Wow.
Yeah, no, he's doing really well, and he's
Very.
having a great time. And you're right, he and Alton, I think, met really early on, and they've been
Great
paired a lot
team.
in campaigns, and I think they stay in touch a lot, and it's really
I'm
sweet.
loving the Adutes and the Kaya Gerber, Adut, Atek, Mona,
So cute.
Selena Frost, Victoria.
I don't even know all of
I'm
those
loving
girls.
that whole group. Mhm.
Yeah, I don't even know all of those girls, but I have
Yeah,
met a
I'm
dude.
loving all those babies.
So
Those
cute.
babies are just, they're so, I just love their whole spirit of life and the way they dress, and they're always dressed and they're always posing, but they're enjoying. I love, and it's fun. Most importantly, they're having fun. So I'm loving those babies at the moment. Those are the
Yeah.
babies I love. And they're all friends. They're all
Well,
friends.
you work with everybody still, so
Let me
you
tell
get
you
to see
something,
all-
Christy, it's the weirdest thing. After doing, I tell you one show I did Yves Saint Laurent last, I'm so wrong, where are we? Last September in Paris. And I never tell when I'm going to do a show. I just do it, and I don't tell anyone. And so I did it, and I came off the stage, and it had just been pouring with rain, and we were outside, right with the view of the art, right under the Arc de Triomphe. So I'm like, oh
Yeah, I
my God,
saw
how's the
them
show going to
too.
happen?
Incredible. Yeah.
Because it's the rain. So then I do it. They were outside like 10 minutes before the show, like trying to clean the catwalk where we were walking. So then I get off I go and I do it. I was speaking to a good friend of ours on the phone. I said, okay, I've got to go now. I'm going to walk. So I go and walk, and I come off, and who's there to greet me again for this? It's the second time. It happened at Off-White too. Was Kaya and a dude just standing there like saying, oh, and I was just like, for me, it's like very emotional because this is the daughter of my great friend Cindy Crawford and a dude who I call my daughter. And just to see them standing there waiting for me, it's very, I find
sweet.
it very touching, very sweet, yeah.
Yeah. Aw.
Proud of both of them.
I know that you did a show in London that my nephew did like a month ago or 2 months ago. And he said that he didn't even know you were there. You just like zipped in, did your thing and left. And he read about it, I think, on like social media afterwards. It's like nobody even saw you enter the building. Just
it
magically.
Was Tommy Hilfiger, right?
Yeah.
Tommy Hilfiger's Lewis Hamilton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was isolating already without even knowing I was isolating.
Girl, healthy.
So what do you think is the big misconception about us that people have?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, something I was thinking about earlier, which I think is funny, is how many songs are there that talk about partying like a supermodel?
But who did the first one? Wasn't it RuPaul?
Yes.
Yeah,
it would probably be think that was like all that we did, but I think it's a misconception that we were just like party girls.
Yes, absolutely agreed.
Yeah.
Well, I remember feeling like, it was like at that time in the 90s, a model had to marry a rock star. And it was like a stereotypical couple, you know what I mean? Almost did it. So now that everything is like digital now, do you think it's for better or for worse?
Gosh, I mean, I guess that's the biggest change that we've experienced in our careers is that change. I miss film. I miss the sound of it. I miss the look of it. I miss the whole process. The surprises that happen when they're the accidents that come from processing film.
Absolutely.
So I miss it. I also just don't like to look at a screen all the time of myself. So whenever I do work,
do you look?
I try not to. And they'll say to me like, oh, do you just not look? Do you not, do you never look? And I was like, I can't see without my glasses usually anyway. And then the other part is like, if I look, I won't feel great. So I'd rather just like not look. Video is not kind.
I say to them, I won't look because it just for me really is, you have to have a trust with the person that you're working with. So you made the commitment to be there. You got to feel it. So I never look. I don't want the screen turned my way at all. They can look. I want to trust. And that's how that's otherwise for me, this element of surprise of this business is gone. And so we're used to the other way. And I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that same way. I feel like if I feel good, then I feel like I'll look better or I'll look my best. And so if I see something that doesn't reflect how I feel, then I don't know, it just ruins it for me.
It just makes you doubt, brings doubt, but you know that feeling. You never looked before, so you don't need to look now. And the thing that I want to wrap up with is two more things. What you do for maternal health with your organization, Every Mother Counts. Could you please just tell us how that started and began? And you travel all over the world tirelessly, Christy. We're all so impressed and proud of you in what you do for maternal health.
Thank you. I started Every Mother Counts about 10 years ago. Actually, it was supposed to be our big anniversary, our 10-year anniversary this Mother's Day. So we're having to rethink our celebrations. Thank you. But really the whole thing started because I had a complication after I delivered my daughter, Grace, and Grace is now 16. So it's been a long journey. I had a complication that I didn't even know was a possibility. And if I hadn't been in the right care at the right time, things could have been very different for us. And I learned that, hundreds of thousands of girls and women die every year from complications related to pregnancy and childbirth, and all because they don't have access to the right kind of care at the right time. So I think just that experience and then seeing an opportunity, you know, people weren't really talking about maternal health in any real way. I felt that I could add my voice and I could contribute in a meaningful way. And so I made a documentary film called No Woman, No Cry. And then I went back to school a second time to work on a master's in public health at Columbia. And then I started this foundation really with the idea that it would be a campaign to raise awareness. And then it just kind of kept growing. There was just a lot of
it's
women.
amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, I've
Thank
been
you.
to little clinics in Tanzania and in Kenya, and they've all told me, Christy's been here many, many times.
Oh, that's
and
amazing.
One of them, the one in Tanzania was for me very, very hard to see. That the women would just come in, give birth and leave within an hour. I mean, I was bawling. I don't know how you do it.
I mean, there are some incredible partners that we support around the world that do such amazing work, and they have very little supplies, very little training, certainly no funds. And so, you know, it's really for them that we do what we do. You know, it's not about me. It's not about my story or my complication. I just want to pay it forward and make sure that other women, you know, have what they need when they're bringing life into the world, and that the people who look after them. Yeah.
You really have paved it forward. You have shared. You have helped so many women. You are an angel. You have helped me. I wouldn't be here. I owe my career to you. I love you so much. Would you like to say a few words to anyone about staying home and staying safe?
Stay home. Take this time to take care of yourself. You know, dream big for what you're going to do with the world and for the world when you get out of the confines of your home. But yeah, take care of yourself best you can.
I love you, Christy Turlington Burns.
You too.
Family.
Thank you. Happy anniversary.
So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being with me on this day of my 34th anniversary. Wouldn't want to be with anybody else. Thank you so much. I love you.
Thank you. I love you too. Bye.
Here's the family.